Hey, Kinder friends! Here we are with our second, well, really third art project of the school year. And to start this week off, we have very limited supplies. There's only so much we can do this week because I'm going to kind of show you two ways you can go about this. One way requires some drying time. So that's why we really aren't going to go beyond this first step this week. So it shouldn't take you too awfully long to complete. I have a black piece of paper. If you do not have a black piece of construction paper, it's okay. You could do this like on a dark blue or even a purple would be fine too. And if you don't have a bottle of Elmer's glue. This is the liquid glue. And Miss Waters is not a big fan of liquid glue, but for this project, Too Much Glue, the book that you read or got to hear, requires us to use this. So if you don't have this though, you can't use a glue stick. Okay, so I just want to be clear on that. I am going to show you a second option on a white piece of paper with just simply a black crayon, okay? So it's a different version. It's just fine. So if all you have is white paper and you don't have any glue and you have white paper and a black crayon, I'll show you that in just a minute. For those of you that have black paper and a bottle of Elmer's glue, make sure first that your glue bottle is going to work. And this is the one of the biggest reasons that Miss Waters does not love glue bottles. Because what happens is boys and girls twist them open, but then they forget to twist them closed at the end. And when that happens, the glue gets up in the inside and dries, and then they clog up and they don't work again. I also like to have a paper towel nearby for when I finish, okay? Because I'm going to show you the trick that so many boys and girls forget about. So I've gone ahead and I've opened, and all I've done is twist it. And the way to test is if you just kind of squeeze it a little bit and you feel air coming out the top, or you hear that air coming out of the top, which you might hear, then you are good to go. So really, this gives you the opportunity to almost what we're going to call scribble with the glue, but it's a controlled scribbling. I don't want you just scribbling like you would on a piece of paper, okay? Because we're going to twirl around. Remember those fancy lines that we talked about a couple weeks ago? We're going to use that to kind of fill our paper and overlap some lines. So we're always using line, even though we did some line practice, we're always going to come back to it. So pick a spot to start. It doesn't really matter. You can start near the edge. I have a mat down, so mommies and daddies are going to want you to have something, whether it's newspaper, whether it's a big piece of paper towel, something under your work just in case you slip off the side of your paper. So I like to start on the edge or someplace, and I start to squeeze, and as I'm squeezing, and what kindergartners don't understand is if you hold it in one place and you're squeezing, what's going to happen? You're going to end up with a big glob of glue. All right, so you're kind of squeezing but moving at the same time. And we're just going to start. Now, see, this is what's happening. I had air coming out, and now it's not working. So this could be interesting, boys and girls. Let's see if I can get this working a little bit better. I thought I had it going. False alarm. And now you know the reason we don't ever use glue bottles in the art room, because this is what happens. So I'm going to stop the video and pick back up in just a second. Okay, I'm back, kindergarten. This time I was smart. I got a backup one, so just in case. All right, now where was I? I'm going to kind of go back to where I started. I'm going to start squeezing. There we go. And you'll be able to see that glue. If you drag it too much on the paper, it's going to kind of put a line, but you don't want to be up here squeezing with both hands, because then you're going to get. So I'm just going to kind of continue around my paper. I'm squeezing this whole time. I'm squeezing. And what I'm just doing is creating just a fun, we've got some loop-de-loops, okay? Maybe you want to put some zigzags, so we're kind of doing a little bit more line practice. You're overlapping. Overlapping means going across something else part way. And you can kind of keep going. Now you don't want to fill all the space. Look, I got some of those bumpy lines. See what happens when you drag? You can always go back over it. Okay, so maybe come up to this corner, throw in a couple more loops. There's a little space there. See, I'm looking for the really empty areas. All right, I think that's pretty good. What do you think? All right, so now I can't go in with color, right? Because this has got to dry. Oops, you know, I meant to go back. I'm going to go back here real quick. I don't like how that looks, so I'm going to fill that in. Now you can, if you want to, make some areas, if you notice areas that didn't turn out real well and you want to thicken them up a little bit. Like this kind of got kind of light because I was dragging it and my zigzag got kind of messed up, so I'm just going to go back. Remember, I'm always moving though. I'm not going to hold in one place because if I do, then I've got big globs. And hopefully if you have a glue bottle at home, it's going to work really well for you. I'm going to fix this little guy real quick. Maybe some of my bumpies got kind of light. All right, maybe a couple more right here. All right, so now you are really just going to let this dry. If you used black paper or a dark purple or dark blue, you're going to put it someplace safe in your house where it can dry until next time. Now, if you didn't have a black piece of paper and white glue, I suggested just using a white piece of paper, which is a little bit harder to see on my white mat, but that's fine. And I've got a crayon. And the reason I have a crayon is it is made of wax. And wax is going to help us when we start to add our color next time. So you're going to do this exactly the same way as the example that I did with the glue, only you're going to use a black crayon. So you can start someplace, and I'm going to press down a little bit because I really want that wax to get on the paper, and I really want it to be kind of thick. So I'm pressing. I don't want to press so hard. Now look, I went right off the edge of the paper. Does that mean I have to be done? No, because I've got all this space. So I can come back and I can start somewhere else. And I can just keep it going. And maybe that one's going to go off the paper. But you see what's starting to happen? We're starting to fill that paper. And this time I think I decided, just by accident maybe, that I was just going to do loop-de-loops. And I'm going to kind of get up in this corner here, and I'm going to kind of come in here. Some can be smaller depending on how much space you have. I'm going to circle over here, and I think that looks pretty good. Maybe just one more. I'm going to just start somewhere here in the middle, and I'm going to stick another loop in here. All right, I think that's pretty good. Now, same thing like I did with the glue. If you want to go back and kind of darken up some of those and really get that wax built up. I'm not coloring shapes. I'm staying on the line because we have created a lot of shapes, and we're going to do something with that the next time I see you. So this doesn't really need any drying time, but it might take you a little bit longer to darken up and thicken up those lines and really get that wax so it's nice and heavy on those lines, because that's going to help you next week. You'll have a choice, just like you had a choice to use black paper with glue. You'll have a choice for a material to use next week. So I want you to go ahead and stop at the end of your line here if you're using a black crayon. Perfect. Just keep going, making that whole thing thick. Miss Waters is not going to sit here and do all of it on the video because it'll be way too long and you could be doing yours this whole time. So I'm going to let you finish up, but remember, we're not going to add the color this week because our friends who have glue drying can't add color yet, okay? So that will be our next week's video. Your job is to just keep your paper in a nice safe place so you don't lose it before next week. I'll see you then, kindergarten.